podcast, the live stream, whatever you want to call it, where we talk about real shit that affects real people and produces real solutions to real problems. And as you can see, I've let my hair down today because I want to let my hair down with you today. And I want to talk about something that's it's a very personal thing for me, but I think that it will help many of you. Most of you see me as a very happy-go-lucky, very exuberant and, effervescent kind of person. And that's me. That is really me. But back in the 60s, Smokey Robinson did a song called The Tears of a Clown. And let me tell you something, that for almost the last 5 years, that's been the story of my life. I've been suffering silently. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is this is something that affects a lot of people, and particularly guys, and to make it even more granular, black men. But it's not exclusive to men, nor is it exclusive to black men. This is something that affects everybody, every walk of life. But it's a challenge. Suffering silently is when you're going through something and you feel like, or you make yourself go through it without any help or counsel. And this is, y'all hear me, this is dangerous. You don't ever want to go through the minefield of life without someone to help you. And here's the sad part, because when I actually chose not to suffer silently anymore and I began to share my situation with others, these people, the people who were my closest friends, my most trusted counsel, they all were on the verge of cussing me out because they're like, dude, you have someone that you can share things with. You have people, but you didn't. And a lot of them, well, initially they didn't understand, but ultimately they did because, the things that I was going through were very personal. Now, here's the thing. I want to tell you, first of all, that it is okay to not be okay. We all have moments where we're not okay. And it's okay to be not okay. What is not okay is being not okay and not acknowledging it, not acknowledging that you're not okay, and not sharing that you're not okay. You see, one of the things that we suffer from, and this is a particularly American phenomenon, is that we think of this rugged individualism and this exceptionalism, and that somehow we have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We have to reach down into our own personal resolve and work it out. But the problem with that is no person is an island. We are all created for cooperation and interdependence. We're not created to be independent. We're not created to be competitive and all of that. We're supposed to be collaborative. Now, what I learned from this is that when you attempt to suffer silently, you die slowly. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. The pain is localized and it's slow. It's torturous. And when you go through this, you feel as if I could just get some treatment for this one wound. But then the wound becomes more cumulative and it becomes broader, and the next thing you know, you're bleeding profusely, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, you're bleeding out. Now, one of the things that I want to tell you is that if you have trusted counsel, it's okay to throw up a flag and say, hey, I got a problem. I'm going through some shit. I need help. And especially if you are the kind of person that has close relationships, I think one of the greatest tragedies in modern humanity is that there are people that wind up taking their own lives and they have a substantial network of loved ones, of wise counsel, trusted advisors that they can turn to. And when you have that, you need to learn to leverage that and work it to your advantage. You see, for almost 5 years, I was going through and I didn't share what I was going through with anyone. But then there were some things that happened, and I'm going to tell you something. 2023 is going to go down in my life as a banner year because this is the year that I decided to stop suffering silently. And let me just be candid. Well, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. But there are people that I reached out to and I said, hey, I'm in distress. And again, when they found out how long I was in distress, they were like, dude, what the fuck? Why didn't you say something sooner? This could have really blown up into something bad. And fortunately, these people that love me, they did fuss me out. They did cuss me out. Some of them did, but all of them circled the wagons around me and said, dude, you are not alone. You don't have to go through this anymore. And so this year, on my birthday, on August 16th of all days, that was probably the seminal day in this year because it was the day that literally everything changed. At that point, I realized that I have more to live for than I ever imagined. And it was that day that I stopped dying and started living again. And everything in my life since then has been transformed. Every area of my life has been better. I have had more peace. I've had more joy. I've had more energy. I've had more life. And I think that this is just really, how can I say it? It's serendipitous that it was on my birthday. And everybody should have a birthday experience like that where, excuse me, where you are reborn, where you experience a quickening and you realize that, hey, this failure is not final and it's not fatal. So what is suffering silently? Suffering silently is simply this, that when you are going through something and you feel like you can't share it with someone else, you either can't share it out of embarrassment or out of pain, or you just don't want to expose too much of yourself. You don't want to be transparent. And when you're suffering silently, instead of actually working toward a meaningful solution, a meaningful resolution to your problem, you continue to bury it. You continue to subordinate it. You continue to keep it hidden because you think that, hey, I'm strong. I'll work it out. And see, that's the mistake that I made because, see, I know that I'm a strong person. And I said to myself, I'm going to work this out. I'm going to try to work this out. Now, I tried to solve the problem intrinsically. esoterically. But meanwhile, I'm not addressing my own needs. I'm basically subordinating my own hurts, my own aches and pains, my own cuts. And when you do this, when you're suffering silently, basically you're inviting death into your life. And rather than death coming in with just one fell swoop, one broad stroke, death comes in and chips away at you a little bit at a time. And one of the other things is that, especially when you're someone like me who's a very gregarious and very happy-go-lucky kind of person, appearances matter. Appearances matter. So you're basically trying to keep up appearances. You don't want people to know what you're going through because you're the guy who helps, or the gal who helps people find life in dead situations. You're the encourager. And let me say this. There are some of you out here who are encouragers, who are the people that you're the go-to guy or the go-to gal. And yet you're going through it yourself. And it's hard. It's hard, but you have to pick up the pieces, and not by yourself. I read something one time, I think it was like an internet meme, but it said that some days someone is going to come in your life and hug you so hard that they are going to put all of your broken pieces back together again. And I know that to be 100% true. That someone will come into your life, or someone who is in your life who sees what you're going through, they are going to reach out, embrace you, and put all the broken pieces back together again. And here's the other thing too, is that if you make it a point not to suffer silently, that you say, okay, I know that these are the things that I'm dealing with, but I'm going to share this with someone. And watch this. When you have trusted advisors, trusted counsel, you have people that you can lean on, they are going to work with you without judging you. And here's the thing. Sometimes you can't really tell, because if you don't have this pattern of dealing with this, you might let somebody in your world that's going to judge you. And let me tell you something. In the case of suffering silently, this is not a bad thing, because even if someone judges you, at least you are venting the problem. Because one of the things is that when you suffer silently, it begins to have consequences on your physical being. It will affect your cardiovascular, your respiratory, your lymphatic, your digestion. It will affect your musculature. It will affect your physical brain. It will affect so many parts of your body, because basically what you're doing is that you're letting pain eat you. You're letting pain consume you. And you don't want to do that. What you need to do is you need to find an outlet to share the pain. Let me give you an example. That when one of the things that make four-wheel drive systems in trucks very popular and very powerful is that you have the torque load split between four wheels. Why is this important? Well, if you're climbing mountains or unpaved trails and things like that, traction is important. So if you have traction at all four wheels and that you can actually, and now modern four-wheel drive systems, they allow you to computer control which wheel gets the most traction. So it basically sensors at each wheel will determine when something is slipping and divert power to the wheel with the best traction, which will help you get out of a rough situation. The same thing is when you if you're in the situation where you're suffering silently and you share this, you get transparent, you get bold, you let your hair down, and watch. Sometimes, and when you have really good friends, when you have really trusted advisors, when you have people who really have your best interests at heart, they're not going to judge you. But sometimes people are, and this is not a bad thing, because even though they may judge you, you've gotten some of this out of your system. What had been contained and bottled up that is causing you actual health problems, now you've released it. So now you have to you have to deal with a little bit of a judgment externally, but that in and of itself is not the worst possible thing. The worst possible thing is when you're just holding on to it and you don't let it go, and you begin to destroy yourself because you keep it inside. I mean, this is like so very important. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have people in my life who love me, who have my best interests at heart, who honor and respect me, and people, most of all, who don't judge me. I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the people who help me pick up the pieces and remind me that I have value. And that's the thing that I want you to take away from this. You have value. You are precious. You are loved. And if you can't find somebody immediately, just inbox me. I'll do what I can to help. And if I can't actually help you, I'll point you in the direction of someone who can. But the thing that I want you to take away from this talk is, do not allow yourself to suffer silently. You deserve better than that. I'm grateful, and the people to whom I'm grateful for, they know who they are. And I'll say from the most important, there's not a least important, but from the most important, all throughout my network of people, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for each and every one of you and what you've contributed to my life, and helping me see what was in me that I didn't know myself that was there, and help me not to discover myself, because I always had a good understanding of myself, but to help me rediscover myself. And to those of you, I'm grateful. I am grateful. But for any of you out here that if you're suffering silently, I'm going to put this out here. This is my email address, and I'm going to put it up on the screen so that it shows up here. If you have any questions, if you want to talk, if you feel like you're suffering silently and you don't have someone, hit me up. And either I'll help you to the degree that I can, or I'll point you in the direction where you can get some help. But don't go through it alone. You are loved. You are valued. You are precious. And I'm grateful for the ones who saw that, reminded me that I'm loved and valued and precious. And as a result, my whole world is different, and I am no longer suffering silently. A matter of fact, I'm not suffering at all, because that's the other thing too, is that when you find the right people in your life, you stop suffering totally, and and that's a beautiful thing. So, thank you for attending my talk. I went a little bit longer than I normally do, and I apologize for that. For those of you who are watching this on TikTok, I'm going to split this up, and so that everybody can see it in its entirety. But for those of you who are on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram, you'll see it in its entirety. But again, it's okay to be not okay, but it's not okay to stay not okay. Thank you for growing with me in real time here. May you be well, may you be happy, and may you be filled with peace. Love you. Really.